Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. It's Thursday, November 14th. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. The small riparian woodrat is an endangered species that lives in 2 locations in the San Joaquin Valley, but it had been missing for years until recently.
We ended up finding 4 adults and 3 subadults, and we also found both males and females.
Coming up, we'll learn more about what this species represents and efforts underway to restore its habitat. But first, today's headlines. Tulare County officials are publicly refuting a conspiracy theory involving Elon Musk and election results. The debunked theory, which began circulating last week on social media, alleged that Musk's company Starlink had provided internet access for some polling locations in Tulare County, and further alleged that access allowed Musk to steal votes for Trump. Tulare County election officials said Starlink was used to check in voters, but that voting machines themselves were not connected to the internet. The county has responded to inquiries about those allegations from around the world. Federal health officials were in the Central Valley this week as part of a pilot program to help contain bird flu. KVPR's Carrie Klein reports from a pop-up clinic in Tulare County.
On Monday and Tuesday, testing for avian influenza took place under a red tent outside a Walgreens in Visalia. According to Brian Strong of Walgreens, it was meant for those who work with cattle or poultry.
The purpose of this clinic is to provide surveillance testing for farm workers in the community who may be at risk of contracting the bird flu and those who would be in close contact with those farm workers.
Strong flew out from the pharmacy chain's headquarters for this clinic. So did an official from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This is part of a brand new CDC pilot program to test for bird flu in 2 states. The turnout this week, not so good. But they'll be back again next week. For KVPR News, I'm Carrie Klein.
Governor Gavin Newsom has been in Washington, D.C. this week to meet with California's congressional delegation and the Biden administration. His staff says he's advocating for federal funding for the state before President-elect Donald Trump takes office in January. Newsom told a Spectrum News reporter in the Capitol that he has concerns the state will lose some federal funding, which Trump threatened while campaigning.
I guess that's what people voted for, but I got to tell you, a lot of folks will be hurt if we don't push back.
Newsom says he's advocating for funds related to the environment, disaster relief, and health care. Politico reports that one push he's making is for approval to renew the state's Medicare-related MCO tax, which California voters just approved through Prop 35. Financial aid fraud is becoming a growing problem for the state's community colleges. California's community college system has lost more than $7.5 million to fraud just this year. That's according to records obtained by our newsroom partner EdSource. Most of that was in the form of federal Pell Grants intended for low-income students. Some officials told EdSource the fraud relates to a rollback of verification rules for federal financial aid applicants. A rash of dead birds has been found near central Bakersfield. According to news partner SJV Water, late last week, a local biology professor stumbled upon 12 dead geese in and around Truxton Lake. Dead geese were also reported by the Kern River Parkway Foundation. The cause of death was not immediately clear.
Support for Central Valley Daily comes from Fresno Mazda, part of the Prieto Automotive family, with special holiday financing deals on select models through the end of the year at the new showroom on Blackstone and Barstow. Information at myfresnomazda.com.
And now to our main story. The riparian woodrat is an endangered rat species native to the San Joaquin Valley, but it hadn't been seen in its natural habitats for many years. That was until recently, when biologists working at the San Joaquin River National Wildlife Refuge, just west of Modesto, caught not 1, but 2 of them. The refuge is overseen by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They partner with several parties to restore the habitat. That includes the nonprofit organization River Partners, which is working to restore wildlife habitats across California. Ashley Verna is a restoration science ecologist with River Partners and works on the team that discovered the riparian woodrats. She joined me for a conversation and talks about the significance of the discovery.
What's kind of really exciting about this is that the area specific in the refuge that they had trapped, we've been trapping in that area since 2020. So it's really well studied. We've never caught a woodrat before. And so it was this year that they went out and actually started catching riparian woodrats. And it's just a really cool discovery because we haven't seen them since 2012 in a different population up north at Caswell State Park. And these are the two known populations of the riparian woodrat. It's just Caswell State Park, which is just a little bit further north along the river, and then the San Joaquin Refuge. And then additional to that is that this area specifically, which is really cool, is that it's a previously restored site. So back in 2006, River Partners worked with the San Joaquin River Refuge, National River Wildlife Refuge, pardon me, and it was previously in row crop, and we had restored it, and so back to its native riparian vegetation. And now it's like actually re-inviting species that we were really concerned that had been completely decimated.
So maybe you could explain what riparian means a little more. Some people might not have heard that word.
Yeah, so a riparian is typically a native habitat that has both a herbaceous understory, shrubs, a mid canopy level, and then high tree levels. And so because you have this very dense thicket of species and canopy, you basically have multiple species utilizing that area in a very diverse way.
River Partners posted on their social media when they discovered the wood rat, and what a surprise it was. And it was adorable. It does not look like a typical rat. It kind of reminded me of Ratatouille, to be honest. It's almost hamster-like. There's, round ears and chubby cheeks. So tell us more about this wood rat. What's its kind of function or purpose? Is this something people would see on a trail and notice?
So what's really cool about wood rats as a whole is they actually make woodrat houses. And so woodrat houses are a series of different rooms and then like sticks that can be 4 feet wide and up to 12 feet long at the base, which is really great. And they have all these different rooms set up into it, like a granary and a fermentation room and like a birthing chamber and like where they defecate, all set up into this house. And what's really great about it is like these woodrat houses can last 30 to 50 years. And because they're creating these like structured habitats, they're also inviting other species that can utilize them as habitat. And they coexist really well with other small mammal species. And then I guess if you see them, you're typically not going to see them on a trail. They're nocturnal. They like to run around at night. But you definitely, like, when you see one, they're just super chunky. They're very distinguishable from a rat, from a typical rat, like a black rat. So that's kind of like the ecological function as a whole. I mean, like, I think that it's something to keep in mind that as an ecologist and as people in like native species and endangered species management, we try hard not to give like a value associated to like what they do, because every animal deserves to like survive. And like one of the biggest aspects to having these populations drop off is loss of habitat.
So now that we've rediscovered this riparian wood rat, what's the studying and trapping situation going to be like moving forward?
Yeah, so we will continue to partner with the Refuge staff and CDFW, ESRP, and continue doing our normal trapping events that we do for riparian wood rat and doing vaccinations. But additionally, we're working specifically with ESRP and then their director, her name is Jamie Rudge, who's fabulous. We're working with her on doing a trapping effort coming this winter. And the camera trapping effort is really great because what's cool about camera trapping is that you can set out more cameras, a longer time, and you don't have to do as many like checks And so, of course, like one of the issues that everyone has in endangered species management is like financial, right? Like that financial load, the resources, even the staff, having staff available to go out and to check these to check traps is really big effort. So when you're doing camera trapping, it's much more low effort. It's great. So we will be utilizing a couple of our restoration sites and setting out cameras. And then the ESRP will be going out and doing camera trapping for wood rats at the refuge as well.
And ESRP is what again?
That would be the Endangered Species Recovery Program.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I think that one of the other exciting aspects about this is that when you're thinking about wood rats, when we did this trapping effort, we ended up finding 4 adults and 3 subadults. And we also found both males and females. And so when you're taking into account that aspect, that means that there is a population that's large enough and diverse enough that can actually breed and maintain itself. And hopefully this can cause a little bit more of an interest uplift so that we can have more funding to study them and also to like restore more habitat specific to their needs.
That was my conversation with Ashley Verna. She's a restoration science ecologist with River Partners, a nonprofit focused on restoring wildlife habitats. Outside of their work at the San Joaquin River National Wildlife Refuge, River Partners has many other projects across California, including at the Panorama Vista Preserve near Oildale and Bakersfield. And that does it for today. Thanks for listening. Today's episode was produced by Jonathan Linden and KVPR with support from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. Find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
No matter what happens in Washington, the NPR Politics Podcast is here for you. For the latest news, insights, and analysis from the election and beyond, listen to the NPR Politics Podcast.